Hi everybody, hope everybody's fit and well, and this is my next build. I don't know how long it's going to take, I'll just see how it goes. I've had this kit for a few decades now, must be at least 30 years, and I remember at the time having to check all the parts because it's not in mint condition. A lot of the parts are floating around off their attachment points, most of them. So I still need to do another check, make sure everything's there and not being lost over the decades. But all the major parts are there. Now I'm not going to super detail this up, use this as a base. I haven't got the inclination and I don't have the energy. That's not what this videos are going to be about. I'm just going to do it straight from the box and maybe change a few areas, nothing major. Although saying that, one of the major jobs I will have to do first is the surface detail. Even though the plastic parts are original and fresh as the day they came out, it's all raised rivets. So they'll all want wiping off and then re-riveting. So not a task I'm looking forward to, but it needs to be done in this scale. So let's move on and actually see what we get in the box. So here's the box. I haven't put any lighting on because of the shiny surface, it will just reflect. Just in case anyone's interested. So, let's open the lid. I do want to add a motor. I've got a few of them stashed somewhere, he says. So I will be adding a motor. Looks like a nose gear, doesn't it? The illusion the illustration gives. Decals. Well, it's been affected by damp, so they're well past their sell by date. So I've got that problem to solve. Find something to replace them. Let's get some light now. So what are wings? Don't know if you can see, yes it is riveted. So all that will have to be sanded off. You can see that sink mark there. I'll have to rectify that. So things like that we can do. There's a bit of damage there. Underneath the wing. And when you think when this kit came out, it's a very good kit, detail wise. When you think what other kit manufacturers were doing. I can't vouch for accuracy. Airfix are usually reasonably good. They always manage to catch the character of the subject. I think Airfix are very good at doing that, or were back in the 70s. So yes, some surface detail there. All those rivets will have to come off, sand off, and be re-riveted. The exhaust stacks, you know, maybe sharpen them up and drill out the holes. Come on, focus. Right, bag of parts. Don't need those, do we? Bag of parts here. Just to get a few. It's one thing I have to do is do an inventory and check I've got all the parts here first. I know the majority is there, but if there is anything missing, I'll just have to build from scratch. So we've got the prop there with the sink marks. Let's look at the cowl.
pilot, which we will be using. Nice detail there. It's a pretty good kit for its age. I found this one better than the Spitfire. Now, ordinarily, I'd bin this. Oops, let's see. I'd bin this and start from scratch, using either aluminium rod or plastic rod or whatever. But I'm just going to sharpen that up. Maybe add a hydraulic line, but that'll be it. The ammunition boxes, and the engine. So, as I said, you could go to town, or maybe nick something from the trumpeter kit, maybe. The cockpit floor. So, gives you a rough idea. Bubble wrap. The guns, machine guns. The pilot's headrest. Sidewall detail. Console. Seat. The engine bearers. The wheel hubs. Right. I may have a spare stand somewhere. The rubbery bits. Whenever I bought these kits many years ago, same with the Stuka, I always add a bit of talc in a bag with the tyres. It just helps preserve them. Don't ask me why, it just does, it works. They look pretty good. Clean up. They're usually one of the things to go in kits of this age. I wonder if the stand's in here and the rest of it. No, it's like transparencies. Really good for their age, I keep saying it. Curvy one. Alright, so yeah, that's it. So the next job will be to sort these surfaces out, i.e. sand them, get rid of these sink marks, re-rivet it all, and prepare the surfaces before we go any further for the wings and the fuselage. Hopefully this riveting detail is right. I'm just going to literally replace the rivet holes with what's here as a guide. Use these as a guide. I'll probably take a photograph, things like this where it's doubled up, just so I've got some reference. I don't know if you can see that. Just so I've got some reference of where the rivets do go, because once they've gone, they've gone. So I'll get on with counting parts, and hopefully the next thing you'll see is me sorting these surface detail out. So I've sanded all the rivets off, which sounds easier than it was. So I'm just using a foam back sponge and one of my custom made ones. I don't know what grit it is, can't tell you offhand. So I've taken all the surface detail off, which has left me with that. And what I want to do now is with this scriber is just define these panels a bit more. So I'm going to go around gently and just make them a bit more defined. At the back here, I'm going to redefine that using a scalpel blade. I'm just going to score and just deepen that line along there, just to, as with the panel lines, just a bit more definition. So I've spent the last hour or so penciling in some guidelines for me to rivet this surface. I'll be using a Rosy Riveter's tool, very good bit of equipment. After I'd cleaned up the kit's panel lines and rescribed some around this around the rear flap and the slat area, I gave the whole top surface and underneath surface a black panel wash. Wiped it all off just so I could see when I started penciling in these lines that they would match up in orientation. Now, where the rivet goes, I've used the existing photographs that I took of the kit's rivets before I sanded them off and used them as a guide. So they're not 100% accurate, but they'll give enough surface detail to add a bit of interest. Wish me luck on starting that task. With all the detail finished now, as far as I'm concerned, sharpened up the panel lines and some of the lines around the slats and these rear flaps or air brakes, whatever they're called, and then re-riveting using the Airfix rivets as a guideline. Top wing done, bottom wing done, so hopefully they'll suffice, and by the time I've added a wash, will look interesting enough. Now I've used the same I was going to say it would have been nice to remove the slats and this rear flap here, so I could have had it in the drooping position, but I wasn't willing to go that far. It's just not in the remit of what I'm trying to do at the moment. So same process I did on the wing surfaces, I did on the fuselage. I don't know whether you can see any of that. There's just a few more bigger screw heads to go along the rear tail here to add. But other than that, most of it's done. You can see a few sink marks here and there that need tackling. These exhaust stacks won't be in this video, I don't think, probably in the next video, but I'm thinking of cutting all these square bits out, leaving the upper and lower, I don't know what you call them, flare guards or whatever, in situ. And I thought of using this extruded bit of plastic, 'cause it's the same shape it seems, and then cut them out individually and then stick them in there, thinning it out a bit inside, get a bit more realistic look. But that's just in the planning stage at the moment. I'm still thinking about that. Originally I was just going to dig out the holes, but I think it might be better if I, for what it's worth, just take all that out. It's just a simple straight cut, top and bottom, and then cutting these into little sections and stick them in position. We'll see. Cowl's done. Let's go and just define the shapes a bit. Then we can see the riveting there. A bit of reshaping around here, around this form here. Slightly defect on one side, and you can see it. Rear tails. These other panels. I've drilled out these vents because they were solid. I think there's a few there, there's one there, a few there, and just sharpened up the holes a bit. I've left the raised detail on that intake area there just to give it a bit of variety. I think that's it for this stage. Next thing I want to tackle is the engine and the cockpit area. So hopefully see you for that next stage.